So as we talked about in the last video with the No Kings rally, it was a massive turnout against Donald Trump, and we had some pretty good jokes. This was the best one that I heard all day. Have a listen to this.
The great irony is, of course, that Donald Trump is the son of an immigrant, the grandson of an immigrant, and married to an immigrant. In fact, 2 of his 3 wives were immigrants, proving yet again that immigrants will do the jobs that even Americans are not willing to do.
Immigrants are willing to do the jobs that Americans aren't willing to do. In this case, marry Donald Trump. This is pretty funny. I want to show you guys also what's going on in the Korean media, because covering Trump is like crazy, because you have to translate it first and then you have to explain it. And even in English, this stuff is absurd. This is actually what Trump is when tweeting out these days. It was this weird King Trump with a fighter jet, the Top Gun theme song. He's wearing a crown. And then basically he's taking a crap on protesters. So how do you explain this to Koreans of like, this is the President of the United States putting out AI videos of crap on protesters? I'm laughing because it's so stupid. And I don't know if any other country would do this kind of thing, right? So first they basically show what Trump is saying. It's ridiculous. And then they show there are a lot of Americans protesting, right? In the millions, and they'll show Trump talking about how he still wants to extort money from Korea, and basically to show you what the situation is. So I always like to show you guys this stuff to let you know that you are not alone. And it is made well and clear who the Trump people are. So for example, they say, okay, Trump is AI videos crapping on protesters. They're bragging about the military, these kind of things. They're cracking down on freedoms in USA. Like basically it's like this absurd dictatorship. And then they show that there are millions of Americans protesting. So people are well aware that Trump's an idiot, basically. I'll put it in the most simplest terms. This is what Koreans are saying these days. A president who directly mocks protesters. How virtuous, right? So it's being sarcastic. Another person writes, the level of the president is miserable, right? So this is Koreans' perceptions of Trump. This also says here, until it becomes childish, the mental age and intellectual ability of a middle school student. Again, referring to Trump. Another one, how tiring is it to hear the unrefined messages of politicians firsthand? And another one, could this guy be a demon? People are writing. And if you don't know, K-pop Demon Hunters is obviously very popular here. And then people also lately are watching that, I think it's like the Demon Slayer movie that was the show on Netflix and now is in the theaters. Really, really popular. So that's sort of been on people's mind. Another person writes, the president making such a video, he's definitely not a dignified king, right? Laughy face. And I am the demon king, referring to Trump. And here's another one. If you're outnumbered, you'll be impeached. The military can never overcome public sentiment. South Korea has showed us clearly there's no need for violence. In the US, if 10 million people gather, it's game over. So that's very, very good. And, you know, there's a mix of humor here and also some serious stuff. And learn from what happened in Korea. You can impeach, you can remove people nonviolently. People take to the streets and just show, hey, this is all about democracy. Now, what's interesting is when you look more of this stuff, they basically, insult Trump. Trump is so shallow. Are you in your right mind? Like talking to Trump. Impeachment is coming. Another person writes, he is not a king, but an emperor. He is an emperor that Putin and Xi Jinping are envious of. And then we got this even more wacky news from Korea. Trump has planned, at least the rumor is, you never know for sure what Trump's going to do. He could change his mind, but planned to come to Korea. And there's discussion, should we give him some sort of, gold award or whatever, because he likes awards, to try to negotiate. And then that is the actual necklace that they're thinking about possibly giving him. This kind of stuff you normally would reserve it for like actual people who deserve an award. But this is the crazy world that we are in. If you want to negotiate with Trump, give him something gold. So that's what they're talking about. And then just saying, should we give it like this version, that version, whatever. Yes, it's crazy, guys. And yes, everyone here in Korea knows it's stupid. The Korean government knows it's stupid also. But that's essentially how you have to deal with Trump. You got to know who your opponent is. And when you read the comments of what people are saying, this is from Korea, what people are saying when they saw about like, are we really giving, Trump a gold medal thing? Diplomacy is like SNL. And in fact, we have Saturday Night Live here in Korea, just like you guys do. So, I mean, it feels like a joke, right? Like it's like we're stuck in the South Park timeline. Another person writes, it's so childish. Another person, would Trump want to receive a medal from President Lee? Basically, Lee Jae-myung, does the president need to have it from the president? Right. Another one, haha. I guess the goods are trendy. In our country, metal goods are used as a bargaining chip. Tariff negotiations. I mean, this is how you got to talk to Trump. Just give him gifts, I guess. Another person says, oh my. It was like OMG is kind of the translation. Government, come to your senses. Another person, try it. And then all those little symbols is like laughing symbols. I really want to see it. Thank you for making me laugh for the first time in a while. So I just want you to be clear on this. Like, we all know it's stupid here. Like, everyone knows it's stupid. But that's how you have to talk to Trump. Like, he's a kid. Oh my, I'm so embarrassed. I really want to hide somewhere. Another person, I don't think the government would do something this crazy, but you never know. And I also want to point out too, as well, in the American press and stuff like that, they show basically like who these people are. All you got to do is just show who they are. So, for example, this is Scott Bessent lying about tariffs, and you got to see this one.
Why are the president's tariffs not taxes on imported goods?
Well, that's easy, because tariffs are a surcharge, not a tax. They could be paid by the exporter. They could be paid by the country. When you go and get your driver's license, you pay a fee. Is that a tax? Is it a tax?
I'm asking you a question, sir. And I just appreciate an answer to it. Thank you.
And I'm giving you an answer that maybe you don't like. The other thing is, this case, and Ambassador Jameson is a lawyer. I'm not.
As am I. Thank you.
I won't tell you the one thing I agreed with Lennon on. I think that we see with this Chinese provocation why it is very important for the president to have emergency powers to implement tariffs.
And so, like, this kind of stuff, tariff is a tax. You can easily look it up, right? A tariff or import tax. They're trying to pretend like it's not. And that's like these are the basic things you just got to show people. If you ever have an argument with the Trumper, just ask him basic stuff like this. Like, why does Trump put out these ridiculous AI videos? Why do they lie about the tariffs, right? You can easily Google the stuff, tariff, tax, duty paid, right? And then you got this, and this is actually a big story that just came out today. Again, that shows you who the Trump people are. I'll read the headline here. Rubio promised to betray U.S. informants to get Trump's El Salvador prison deal. So basically, Trump's wanting to, send people to El Salvador, these kind of things. And then to get El Salvador to go along with it, basically, informants would be, people who are working with the Justice Department to say, hey, I'll give you info, give me some lighter sentence or whatever. And then Rubio then basically had to go back on that. Let me read the description of it. And again, this sort of is a demonstration of how you can't trust the Trump people, to be perfectly frank. So, for example, it says, Secretary of State Marco Rubio in March 13th phone call with Salvador President Bukele promised the request would be fulfilled, according to officials familiar with the conversation. But there was one obstacle. Some of the MS-13 members Bukele wanted were informants under the protection of the U.S. government. Okay. To deport them to El Salvador, Attorney General Pam Bondi would need to terminate the Justice Department's arrangements with those men. Rubio said he assured Bukele that Bondi would complete the process and Washington would hand over the MS-13 leaders. So that's the kind of people that the USA are. Basically break their promises to make deals with bad people. That's basically what it is. And then you have it's crazy. And then you have stuff like this. Shutdown fight reopens in GOP over health care. And essentially the Republicans, and this is we're going into this week now, want to, always want to destroy Obamacare, Affordable Health Care Act. And basically what it boils down to is they don't have anything to replace it. And this is ultimately going to hurt their constituents, right? But here's the thing. Constituents should be all Americans, not just red state ones. But if you just want to make it in the most simplest terms, Republicans are going to hurt Republicans. And I guess that's when we'll finally start to see change, because from the Republican point of view, yeah, hurt Democrats. Great. Hurt the blue states, right? That's sort of the weird sick party that it is right now over there. That I'm just telling you the truth, guys, that the people that we should be in leadership positions should be fighting for all Americans, not just some. And, from the GOP perspective, they're just fighting for that, top 1% of billionaire class are like, hey, this is get rid of healthcare and any protections because I don't need it because I got lots of money and let's screw everyone else. So this is going to be a big sticking point. I'm going to see how that's going to play out. And I saw this also, and I just want to go to the news today. This was a really interesting one that came out. Some 40% of people earning more than $300,000 are living paycheck to paycheck, right? This is from Goldman Sachs. And this actually describes the situation for many Americans. Now, I know in this particular case, you would think, well, why are these people struggling, right? This is people that make over $300K. This is what it says. So this is, again, 40% make over $300K are saying live paycheck to paycheck. And this is the reason they give. It says you got student loans, childcare, healthcare costs, credit card debt. And then the last one, which really stands out because a lot of people in our community have mentioned it. It's financially supporting family members. And I've talked about this before, just in the last video with you can find my last video on that where we talked about how there was like a brother put on a mortgage, and then what if the brother doesn't, and this is like the mortgage of the mom, and what if the brother doesn't pay their end? Or in this situation, in any number of cases, you have to take care of an elderly family member or a family member that just lost their job or any number of reasons. And I think a lot of this stuff is happening right now in USA to where a lot of the financial pain is being covered up because as unemployment continues, right? You may have family members moving with others. And so what I mean by covered up is like you don't see quite, what's order to say it, like if you want to say homelessness or like the massive degree of people really struggling. But then once you get that sort of extra couple percent of unemployment, meaning that more people will lose their jobs, because of the Trump economy where he wants to fire as many people as possible, then it's really going to hit, right? There's a limit that people can bear. And in my opinion, like we're there. You could argue, way past there depending on your particular situation. But when you start to see these kind of numbers where like even people who, what I consider financially well off are saying, hey, many of us are struggling, it's bad. And I think when this number let's say people over 300K, maybe when it hits over 50% and start struggling, and then they got to take care of more family members or whatever. And I'm sure you guys know this stuff, like we're all connected. And that's why you want to create a system where it's beneficial to all of us, not just some of us, because, we should be looking out for each other in this situation. Again, I think a lot of people in our community have to look out for family members so you'll completely understand the stuff that we're talking about here. And then this is also what we're looking at this week. The headline, Global Week, Cockroaches Crawling Toward Europe. And that's referring to the comment from Jamie Dimon, basically the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, saying, hey, the bankruptcies that we saw with First Brands and Tricolor, when you see one cockroach like that, it means there's a whole bunch more, that we haven't discovered, but they're probably coming. And then the European markets, we're worried about that. And then regarding Europe, we don't talk about this very often, but you got to bring it up because this was the most bizarre story today. And I think it kind of shows the world that we're in. This is actually coming from Paris. My wife and I were visiting there earlier this year. You can find our older videos in that, and you can check out the vlog channel. But this is about a robbery at the Louvre, which doesn't happen that often. A 7-minute heist at the Louvre leaves museum missing priceless jewels. And when you read through this, it's like our crazy, absurd world. And I want to hear from people who are in France, because we actually have people in France that watch this channel. Have you guys heard any other news? And I'll describe it. It's like insane. It's from Paris. A group of thieves sawed through a window in a gilded gallery in the Louvre Museum on Sunday morning. So it just happened, making off via motorcycle with a set of priceless royal jewels. So it sounds like a movie, like cut the glass and ran off with the motorcycle. Over the course of 7 minutes, really fast, 3 or 4 individuals used a cherry picker from a nearby renovation site to reach a window of the Galerie del Pont, an interior minister, and that's from the French. And then they said, there the thieves used an angle grinder to cut a hole in the window to get inside. And when they say angle grinder, I'm thinking like what you kind of see in the movies where they cut the circle. That's kind of how I read that. If it's something else, you guys can let me know, but it just kind of sounds like it to me. Then it says, early indications are the stolen objects include jewels from the Napoleonic display, case and related to the French royalty. Wow. The thieves fled via the roads along the Seine River, and then it says no one was injured in the burglary. So 7 minutes, drive on a motorcycle, 3 to 4 people. Anyway, that's what's going on. We'll keep track of this story because I'm actually really curious if you can actually get away with it or you're going to get captured. I'm assuming they must have cameras all over this stuff for something like this, but we'll find out. And then that's what's going on with the Trumpy stuff. So I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on these things. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.